Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day 2 of the International Women in Travel and Tourism Forum. And good morning and good evening for those who join us from a variety of locations around the world. Yesterday we started with a bang. We had a fantastic day with over 100 attendees. We were very inspired and we learned a lot. I think today is going to be another of those days, and we have a full-on program for the next few hours. So we are going to start now with a new introduction to the International Women in Travel and Tourism Forum, and that is Talks for Travel. So Talks for Travel is an idea that we've introduced this year for the first time. We were looking for an opportunity to share ideas, case studies, project and program around gender empowerment, diversity and inclusion. And so we asked all of you to share such ideas if you had one, to share such project if you had one. And then we selected some that really resonated or that we felt it was particularly important to share. So here we are. There are 3 panelists with me today. Although for the moment there's only 2, but I'm sure that the third one will join us any moment. And here she is, Nada. So Elisa, Chrissy and Nada, good afternoon to you. And to all of you who are attending today. What's going to happen now, we are going to see some snippets from the videos that were sent and recorded by these 3 ladies. And then after that, each video is about 5 minutes and is going to tell us their story, their project. And then after that, there is going to be a time for Q&A from me, and then hopefully from you. If you are interested in asking questions, then you can just put them in the chat. As usual, please interact also as an audience, and not just around your table, but in the chat. Introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and any comments or feedback. Also, please feel free to use your social media channels to tell the stories of these ladies and of IWTTF. So without further ado, Louise, if you could play the videos. Thank you. So I hope you've had a good sense of these 3 enterprising and passionate ladies. And now if we can ask everyone to come back, Louise, please. We can have all of you at the same time. Maybe just make sure that you are muted, that you mute yourself if you're not speaking. So again, just seeing from some of the comments, again, some of really positive comments on these stories on the chat. And so I would like to start with you, Elisa. And you are a real passionate, and clearly this is coming across from your videos. And oh, there's a little bit of, I don't know whether me or whether it's anyone else. I'm hoping that people will be okay with this. I don't know if Louise can help us. But,
hi, Alessandra. Alyssa, it's coming from you. Are you able to just switch what microphone it's picking up? It's just picking up some white noise.
Oh, okay. Let me try. It's better?
It's still there a bit. I mean, we can hear you fine when you speak. It's better now, yes. So carry on.
Yeah. So, Elisa, tell us a little bit about why is storytelling so important to women, in your view? So why is storytelling important to tourists, and particularly to women? We got some ideas from your video, but I would like to go a little bit deeper. The noise is still coming through.
Is it from my mic?
Looks like.
Oh, sorry about it. Let me try. I have another mic here. See if you.
No, now you're muted. Now you've muted yourself.
one is better.
Okay, that's better. That's
Great.
much better.
We find the right frequency. So thanks, Alessandra, for this opportunity. I'm very glad to be here and share the panel with the other two amazing projects and women. So, well, why storytelling is important in tourism matters. Why matters? So, through stories, we give voice to other perspective and other narratives, right? So, if we really want to achieve social inclusion, cultural and human rights, and gender equality, we really need to consider diversity, not just as a reality, which is undeniable, but also as a value. So what this means that we have to really welcome, actively welcome new voices in, and connect and listen to them. It's not just welcoming, right? Just listen and connecting with them, because storytelling allow these voices to be heard and to become kind of visible. But saying that storytelling matters or is important to tourism is not enough, I'm afraid, because we had to ask some questions, critical question, very important question, like which stories do we tell in tourism? For which kind of public and for which purposes? And first of all, who are telling these stories? So my point is that, yes, we need more narrative, we need more perspective and other perspective, more inclusive, but also we need that the protagonist come here and then tell their own story. This, I think, is very crucial. And also there is another main important for the tourism and the industry in general, is that also I mentioned in the video, that through stories, we're able to connect on a different level, on a human level. So we connect with a service provider as a human to human. And this is what storytelling allows us, is to bring us back to actually what is the essence of travel, is an encounter between humans. It's not a role and a role. So we are from different culture. Yes, that is a fact, but we're human. So we can encounter on that level. I think stories allow us to get that encounter closer, because we connect on another level. So I think that is kind of really important to me. Now, I can extend, if you want to ask me any question, but I can extend, you asked the second part of the question on empowerment.
Well, I guess that, what I think it's also very true and what resonates with me from what you said is, yesterday, for example, we heard about, in Laura's speech, we heard about the importance of listening. So, again, the importance of listening to those who are telling us the story, who are kind enough to share the story with us. And as travelers and tourists and visitors, we just need to listen a little bit more carefully and be a bit more attentive. And I also think that for women, storytelling is something that is quite ingrained. It's the way we operate. We tell story, we tell story to children, we tell story to our friends, and it's kind of so akin to who we are, so, and what we do. But the point is, do you think that, in this day and age, are sort of the players in travel and tourism, not just the travelers, but actually the tourist board, destination management, are they encouraging the story?
Well, what I think and what I see is that in the last year, especially, there was a kind of we started self-reflection, and I've noticed like a trend started. Different tourist board and DMO, not talking about local tour operator because they already are more linked to the ground, but in a way they start looking at and value more their own communities and then value more the stories and come from there, because with their help, well, we talk making a link with the Laura as well speech, we had to think as a an holistic way, right? We had to, if without a connection with without listening to the community, a destination, a tourist board cannot really pretend to give a real image, a full image of the destination, because the community are an essential part of it. the guardian of the culture, the guardian of natural environment. So I think without that view, without that perspective brought into the picture, it's hard to show the image of a destination. Otherwise, again, we have that image that flat, that just they have no identity. So we need new images in the travel industry where the image is built from a grassroots level, and this is made of the stories of the people that live there. And then, so this is a real image that, you know, we should promote in travel marketing more, because we start doing it very little. Now I think it's kind of it needs to be seen more, the need for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your postcard series where, you know, you are making the point in your extended video about having, you know, don't send, you know, a sunset. I mean, I don't know if we still send postcards in all honesty, but even if they are digital postcards, you know, but, you know, don't just send a sunset or a view, send a postcard that tells the story, you know, of the real voices of the places, the women behind those places, those destinations, and those experiences. So thank you, Lisa. I'm going to go on to Nada now. I'm a little bit conscious of time, and I also want to give people the chances. But again, to remind you that on our YouTube channel, you have the extended videos. Now, Nada, with you, we met last year for the first time in Iceland, and you came, and I have followed you since. And then, you know, these videos really reminded me of what happens when tourism and travel doesn't happen, because this is really what has happened to Lebanon and to the women of Lebanon, and you know, with the blast and the economic crisis and the political situations. But again, tell us a little bit about, you know, you are doing quite a bit of pioneering around the women drivers and the women mountaineering. And those are probably things that could be potentially replicated. You know, there are in other destinations where perhaps the women still don't have that kind of access to certain professionals, certain areas of travel and tourism. So how are you going about it? How do you find your guide? What works? What doesn't?
All right. Well, guys, what works or doesn't, we're still trying to figure it out. But we know that when it comes, for example, to driving, already driving in Lebanon is already quite an adventure, because everything that is forbidden in Europe or in Canada or in the States is accepted here. So, you know, my friend used to say the red sign is always the red light is always for the one behind you. So you always have to be careful when to stop or when to not to stop. Anyways, this being said, it is a challenge to drive in Lebanon, and to find women to actually accept to take the responsibility to take people and to drive them around is still new. Now, for example, we had a women company of taxi, for example. They called themselves the Pink Taxis. It lasted around 6 months, and then it died off because people were like, didn't trust the drivers enough to actually take women, like driving them around. So this was an experience. And for example, Joelle and I, when we have a private group, we tend to drive them ourselves. So we are the storyteller, we are the guide, we also are the driver, and we also are the clowns, and we make them laugh, and we talk about politics and history, and we drive. And we always have, you know, even with tourists coming from abroad, like people are like, are you sure you are going to drive? We're like, yeah, well, you know, test us. You'll see at the end of the day, you know. And then, you know, you always have compliments. People are like, oh, I didn't expect that you, a woman, could actually talk and drive at the same time. And, you know, I think that with word of mouth and everything, people started, you know, to like it and to say, oh, you know what, it's not bad. We can be driven by a woman and even talk, you know, and even learn about the country and everything. So this was a challenge. We're still working on it. We found 2-3 persons who are ready to do it on a private basis, but not on buses yet. Now, let's be honest, since 2020 till now, with all the many crises that happened in Lebanon, the pandemic, the August 4th blast in 2020, the protest and everything, we are not using buses anymore because of the safety of people. We are just using cars. So it's always carpooling. For now, we stopped it a bit about the driving and everything. We are concentrating on the guiding part. We are concentrating on, first of all, raising awareness on telling people, you know, you have the national guide who can talk about history, but you also have the local guide, you have the storyteller, you have the mountain guide, and you can be everything at the same time, right? Be a bit national, a bit of a storyteller, a bit of a mountain guide, etc. What we call someone who animates the whole, you know, experience and everything. So we are working actually on this specific thing. We have been working with a couple of women, around 10 to 12 women in different regions now, teaching them a bit how to be comfortable enough to guide the group and to take from the group sometimes people who are not comfortable with them being women. So how do you deal with that when you have a small group of 10 to 12 people and you have someone inside that, oh my God, are you sure we're going to be safe if we climb this mountain and this is a woman? And I'm like, you know what? You came from Beirut to here, you drove 2 hours, give it a shot and then we'll see, you know? So, you know, people are getting used to it slowly, but we're working on the strengths of women the emotional strengths for them to understand that they are the one and that we trust them and we chose them because we do trust them. And if we do trust them, it means that they can do it. So a lot of them come with us on the tours and see how we talk, you know, how we introduce everything, do a bit of walking, a bit of adventure, a bit of storytelling, a bit of history. And then we tell them, you see, at the end of the day, people will like you because, you know stuff and you make it interesting and, you talk about emotions, you talk about everything. So everything is about how you present yourself. So we're working on this part of, who you are to guide. So it is a challenge, but I can say that I'm quite happy of what we're doing because I see now some mountain guides and some local guides that are really, really comfortable and they're really fun and people like to follow them. So we still have stuff to do, but we're getting there.
Yeah. And I guess that as people become more comfortable and women themselves are more comfortable, then they act as role model. And that's also very important. So they become role model for others, for a younger generation, or for people who perhaps are coming, who are not working or have been thinking about it. And therefore, then it becomes the norm. Then it's no longer the exception. And then you find that sort of even bigger company might adopt it. And then there is obviously request from the traveler, which is what it's important. And that's really empowering, I think, for the women because they can see that they can be sort of as role model, they are impacting others, but they are also in control of their own stories and they tell the stories, the way they want to tell, which is sort of very important because it's the ownership that also Elisa was talking about.
Absolutely.
So thanks, Dad. I'm going to go to Chrissy and then hopefully I have the time to come back one more time. And if there are questions from the audience, please now is the time to put them into the chat, into the Q&A. So do ask. Now, Chrissy, you have a very different stories. And I, in fact, challenge you when you, after reviewing the video, because I was intrigued, but I kind of said to you, what has this got to do with women empowerment? And what has this got to do with diversity and inclusion? And you were actually very passionate in your answer. Even if it was an email, I could just picture you telling me this thing and saying to me, I know exactly why this matters. So tell us a little bit why you think actually what you are doing, it's important to women, it's important to all women and for the purpose of diversity and inclusion.
I think I believe it's important is because there's such a rise in the traveling solo, and even when we go to our doctors at home, a bit of a community when you're articulating when you're not feeling well. So if you're away and you require medical, and you've got the added barrier of communication and just you're feeling well, having to articulate, also dealing with like the cultural differences can also impact your experience while you're away. So having says this is readily available, from my understanding of when I travel, they say that it confident and also is around NDMOs. Other specific is that women find it challenging, often not taken seriously when there's like a cultural thing, like sickle cell. You might have a country where that even come up because it's to like a particular race group, so it just affects people who are black, it affects people who are Middle Eastern, etc. So having that information just makes that whole experience of having medical assistance easier. And then for diversity, for travellers who are disabled or visually, because obviously there's two parts. You've got your visible disability, and with the visible disability, you might have multiple articulating that, and they have every right to want to go on holiday, enjoy this barrier of accessibility, just generally anyway, having a wheelchair. But if you or a hospital while you're away, they have to carry medication and paperwork. You can all other than the old-fashioned way of stuff. So I think there's two. So you've got your women who just want to travel independently, and you just want to be free. And obviously, some not as able to be as independent if they are coming from the West. But I don't know. I can't think of a specific country. The way you get treated might be different, which is language, and in the language of like medical terms, may improve the quality of care they get while abroad.
Absolutely. So how easily can this be adopted? I mean, are you already, is this already out there, commercialized?
Not yet. So we're currently in development stages. So at the moment, we're on the UK, connect to your actual existing health records of the NHS. Once we've kind of tested it in the UK, you can easily adopt it wherever you go in the world. So if someone's coming from Middle East, America, wherever there's an electronic system of audio, they can update the information. They're able to do it manually, but there's often we don't always understand our own medical history. No, isn't important.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, good luck, I mean, for the next stage and for the testing, for sure. So we have a question. There's 5 minutes. We certainly have a question. If there are more questions, please write them in. And it's a question for Nada. So there's a request from Sarah. So Nada, what has been your strategy to work with women's family members and community who are not comfortable with them traveling with strangers due to cultural aspects, or safety concern? So I guess that, is this about, Sarah, is this about women traveling on their own?
Okay, I don't know if it's about women traveling on their own or women, if she meant by women coming, having strangers with guys in the bus or something, or on the tour and everything, or the tour guide. I have to admit, till today, we've been operating officially in Lebanon in 2013, and before that, we used to live in Canada, so we used to bring groups with us from all around the world to Lebanon. So we never had an issue, let's say, on a bus or on a day tour or on all that. But we usually, when we talk to people, when people book a tour, even if it's a pre-organized tour, so a tour with a lot of people, we go up to 15 people, 15 persons. We always work with really small groups. But anyways, when it's a pre-organized group and there are strangers and everything on the tour, whether they are tour guide or whether they are other persons or whatever, we have a one-on-one conversation with people, and we try to find with them what are they comfortable with in advance before the tour. So if they are, for example, not comfortable being in a place or in another, we customize the tour so that they are comfortable, and we take it on the go, meaning that on the tour, when we are on a journey with them, we are always here to, one thing we talked about today and yesterday, to listen to them and to see them and to see their reactions. Sometimes, you know, we plan a tour and then we see that these persons are not comfortable, for example, in this environment or another. So we talk to them and we change the tour. We go somewhere else. And this is how flexible we can be with people, because we want, at the end of the day, it's their vacation. We want people to actually be comfortable and enjoy themselves and be at ease and comfortable in an environment. So I can tell you the story. For example, in 2010, I had 4 women coming from Canada. One of them was a woman from Tunisia, and the 3 other were Canadian, and they knew each other. And we had this tour. We were going actually in a 6-day tour across Lebanon, and we arrived in the city of Baalbek, where you have a lot of temples, Roman temples, and everything. And because we do the tours a bit differently, so it's all off the beaten tracks. So we started with the classical part and went in the city of Baalbek. But then I directly felt that the Tunisian girl was really uncomfortable. She was looking, you know, left and right. I thought she was, I don't know, in danger, maybe because there was a lot of men around her or anything. So I just went to her, we talked, and I just explained my view of the city of Baalbek. And then I actually saw she just cooled down and she looked at it with different, you know, with a different perspective. And I shortened the tour a bit and went to another city. So I think we take it, you know, one by one. And the thing is to really customize and to listen to the people who are traveling, because at the end of the day, we want them to have a good experience. I don't know if I answered your question.
I think from what I understood, you have, but hopefully Sarah will have it as well. So I don't know whether there are other questions. Yeah, there is an interesting comment here, but about, you know, being chaperoned by female tour guides and, you know, having the opportunity to be surrounded by female tour guides or mountain guides. I'm afraid we have run out of time very, very quickly. I think all your stories have been really fascinating. So thank you very much for your time. I invite everyone to check the full videos on our YouTube channel. And to you ladies, thank you. You know, we really admire. Someone said you are brave, and, you know, you are doing many brave activities. So do continue. We support you. You have a community here, and look forward to interacting with you more throughout this week. Thank you.
Thank you.